So Mark Selby comfortably in his seat there, just awaiting the arrival of Ronnie O'Sullivan, and here he is. They've played each other 33 times, well 34 really. They've had one draw, but Ronnie O'Sullivan leads the head-to-head by 21 frames, or 21 matches rather, to 12. But on current form, it has to be said, Stephen, you'd have to make Mark Selby favourite for this one perhaps.
Yeah, he's played some good stuff so far today, hasn't he, Mark? 2 matches played, 2 matches won. And it's quite the opposite for Ronnie. 2 matches played, 2 matches lost. So a little bit for Ronnie O'Sullivan to find here. I believe he's got a new tip on his cue from the first match, and certainly looked a little out of touch in his previous game against Kyren Wilson. Again, you can hear the big sigh from him straight away off the break off. He didn't like that. Mark Selby, though, so impressive in his opening match of the day against Kyren Wilson. 2 centuries in that game as well. Remember, this Championship League for these players is all about solid match practice in the run-up to the Masters next week. And what a kiss that is.
Yes, Paul Collier, our tournament director, has done some work on the tip of Ronnie O'Sullivan's cue. Whether it's a new tip or whether it's a repair to it, some remedial work, I've no idea, but I think I'm with you. It seems to be a new tip because he's struggling with it a little bit. Break-off shot wasn't the best and could be very costly because Mark Selby's right in here. I've said before that hasn't been the best season so far for Ronnie. He's missed a few tournaments, but he's 18th on the one-season points. Mark Selby 12th.
Played the shot from the brown down the table very well, Mark Selby, to leave the low angle on that red. Just meant he could bring pretty much all the reds into play from that one shot. So very early on in this opening frame, this is now a very good scoring chance. And similar to the task that Kyren Wilson had against Ronnie O'Sullivan, it's up to Mark Selby to try and capitalise on the fact that Ronnie doesn't look comfortable with that tip. Played a few wayward shots, shall we say. But it's up to Mark to try and keep him in his seat for as long as possible.
Yeah, all the players are aware that Ronnie's had a bit of work done on his tip. So from Ronnie's point of view, he probably doesn't have too much expectations, or too many expectations of doing well now in this group, perhaps because of these problems, but I think the other players will be conscious of the fact that they shouldn't be leaving or giving Ronnie any easy opportunities unnecessarily. You keep Ronnie long range, the chances are he will make mistakes.
Well, that's the thing with Mark Selby in general. He wouldn't give you a nod in the desert, would he? I don't think he's going to be gifting any easy chances to Ronnie. He plays the same type of snooker regardless of the format, regardless of the event. He's the ultimate winner.
Well, I'm sure Mark Selby attempted the cut there on the red to the left corner, because he hit it so thickly the cue ball's travelled nowhere, and he can cut this red in, Ronnie. Oh dear, big misjudgment. Probably played it with side spin and it's just thrown the cue ball into the red, and he's hit it so thickly he's gone in off. be much fun, though, for Ronnie O'Sullivan, having to play with a brand new tip on his cue, playing players such as Kyron Wilson, Mark Selby, Ali Carter, Chris Waitlin. Not going to be much fun this afternoon for Ronnie O'Sullivan if he's struggling with his tip.
One thing I will say, though, is that it's not the first time we've seen this from Ronnie, where he's chopped and changed a tip mid-tournament, and probably is one of the best players, if not the best player, to deal with those changes very quickly. He's very able to adapt fast to new tips and conditions, but he certainly looks to be struggling with this one. That's visible. Well, it was a great yellow from Mark. Struck it too well, really. Wasn't able to follow it up with that red to middle. Once again, he's left a half chance for Ronnie, but not the sort of red you want to have to pot to get yourself in when you're struggling with your tip. Pressure on it. Reds are everywhere.
Hang on. Oh, I thought that red had gone in. Goodness me. That could have made a big difference to this frame, but it shouldn't do now.
Well, that shot there from Ronnie is just a classic when you're using a tip that you're not used to or you don't like. Played that with a touch of side, naturally cutting the red to the right, so you would tend to play with a trace of left on that type of shot, and it's just thrown so thick. So much so that he's pretty much hit the red full ball. It's amazing, isn't it, Dom, just how much of a difference little things like that make. It's hard to really explain unless you've tried it or played the game.
Yes, when you play a shot like that and the result is such a poor one, and it's because you're just not used to the tip, and maybe you don't like the tip that's on your cue, that's even worse. But can you imagine just how much confidence you will lose in your game when you can miss a pot by that far? Because perhaps the tip that's been put on your cue is not one that you like.
I suppose the only consolation for Ronnie is that if he can find a quick fix for that tip soon, at least get it out the way here at Championship League, as Mark Selby miscues a black. Well, it's all happening.
Oh, it's full of variety, this first frame, that's for sure. But look at the position of the reds. There's a great chance of Ronnie here. And he does need to start scoring just a few. If he can make a 50 break from here, just take all these open reds with colours and make a decent break and restore some lost confidence, I'm certain.
He had a couple of chances similar to this against Kyron Wilson, and an unexpected mistake just crept in at times, and to me that is just lack of feel from the tip. So we'll see how he goes on here.
If Ronnie plays this with side spin again, he'll have to be careful. That's okay. Doesn't sound particularly soft, the tip, which is good. On these conditions, a soft tip can be tricky to play with.
Again, that shot there, he wanted to be further down the table with the cue ball. Much straighter on the black. He's got an angle so much so that he's having to take the more difficult pink. Yeah, it's a good pot considering.
29.
Currently in 5th place in the group, Ronnie. Badly need of victories. This is his 3rd match, yet to win one.
37.
I'm just wondering, with the blue near the corner pocket, is it worth trying to bring that awkward red into play from this one? No. Played for the yellow. I think the way these pockets are playing and the fact that it's perfectly on the yellow, he'll stun him behind this red. It shouldn't be a difficult pot if he gets in behind it nicely. And that's pretty good.
47.
Well, all things considered, this has been a brilliant break so far from Ronnie. Green won't pass the blue though, so just having to travel with his cue ball across the face, and he's played it well. Yeah, he's played it perfectly. So the miscue from Mark proved to be very costly. And there was an anxious look at his tip upon the miscue. I hope it's all right.
Yes, we'll find out. Sometimes when you play a backspin shot, especially if you have a small tip on your cue, you can chip the side of it very easily and render it useless. This has been an excellent performance from Ronnie because he looked very out of form at the beginning of the frame. He was like this against Chris Wakelin, and in 15 minutes it was 2-2. So good performance in the end from Ronnie O'Sullivan. Mark Selby miscuing. He's having a look at his tip. But anyway, he's got about 2 minutes before he has to play the next shot. Ronnie O'Sullivan takes the first frame to lead 1-0. Welcome back. That's the tip. Well, was going to say, of Mark Selby, but I think that's Ronnie's cue. It's a brand new tip put on by our tournament director, Paul Collier, who often puts tips on or does remedial work on professional players' tips during tournaments. But interestingly, Mark Selby may have some problems in that direction of his own, having miscued on the black in the previous frame. He's breaking off here for frame 2. Having lost it eventually to an excellent clearance of 79 from O'Sullivan.
Well, Ronnie missing the red completely may provide an opportunity for Mark Selby here. The red far right of the screen will be available to the right corner pocket. He's got options. He can top this through. Could try and stun round the back of the black. Yeah, he's played the little delicate stun and he's timed it to perfection. Very similar to the first frame. First chance to Selby and first chance where he's nicely in.
Eight. 9.
Didn't want to cannon that red. He's wrong
16.
angle completely now on this red to the right corner. We'll have to screw off the pack of reds or run through them. He'll be hoping to be on the black here, I feel. Needs to trust to luck now. Is he going to be on anything? Well,
17.
he's on the blue to the yellow pocket. You have to stretch and lean across the table, and that red that's on the top cushion may be in his way a little. I'm gonna look at it. Should be okay though.
Yeah, so now this becomes a good chance for Mark Selby. Very aggressive shot that he played from the red, bringing everything into play, and look at how they've split. Like the sort of practice setup you would start your day with down the club, just chuck them out the box and put them all into potable positions. There's nothing safe here for Mark.
23. $31. 36. 37.
44. A player of Mark Selby's calibre. Difficult to see him breaking down here before the frame has long since been won. Take this opportunity just
45.
to give you a quick update on table 2. Jack Jones has won comfortably the first frame. in his match against Chris Wakelin. They've just begun frame 2. That match available for you on our Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel.
50. 51. 58. 59.
This has been a good response from Mark. He's taken these well. First few shots of this break were key and got the Reds open very quickly. When you do that as a player and get the balls into this position, really nothing should go wrong. You shouldn't ever really miss easy pots like these. It's only if
65.
he was out of position at any point, which in itself seemed very unlikely to happen. So in no time at all, the frame is won.
68. 69. 76. 77. 84.
Played that with top spin and left-hand side on the cue ball, but a little too much left-hand side. Left him below the red that he intended to be on.
84.
So no century break from Mark Selby, but nevertheless an excellent break of 84 to counter the 79 from O'Sullivan in frame 1, and we're all level. It's 1 frame all. Welcome back. It's 1 frame all here in our first match of the afternoon stroke evening session
Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
of day 1 of Group 3 of the BetVictor Championship League Snooker. best of 5. All matches played here at the Championship League are a best of 5 in the invitational version. Very important match this for Ronnie O'Sullivan. He's played 2 matches and lost them both. Mark Selby, contrastingly, has won both of his matches, so this match is more important, you feel, for O'Sullivan than it is for Selby.
Tough safety that Mark was trying to play there. Lots of right-hand side required to check the cue ball back up. Just caught the red a little too thick. So Ronnie has reds available, but all of quite difficult using the rest. Work to be done with the cue ball too. Well, he struck that like an absolute dream. How well has he hit the cue ball?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out, Stephen, whether I feel that Ronnie will keep this tip on for the Masters, and well, there are encouraging signs, I think.
Six. Ronnie O'Sullivan, 6.
I'm very fortunate myself, Dom, and I don't know about you. I never really change my tip all that often. I'm very lucky to have a very good cue maker very close by to where I live, and he knows exactly how I like the tip. He puts it on, and no joke, it probably lasts me 2 to 2.5 years, my tip. I remember as a junior using the Elk Masters, I was chopping and changing all the time, and it used to take me days to get used to tips, and very grateful now that I found a consistent one. As soon as it goes on, it plays as if it's already bedded in. And it's as if I haven't even changed the tip.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of players about the town chalk that most players use these days, and the general consensus amongst the players that tips are lasting longer with it as well. I've had the tip on my cue now well over a year, and it still hasn't firmed up really. It's still fairly on the soft side.
Six.
And the cue maker that you referred to, great cue maker, been known for years, Dave Coots. Used to do a lot with Robin Cook. Is he still going?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know that they sort of had a little bit of a collaboration going at one point, Coots and Cook. Not too sure if that's still a thing, but yeah, Dave's still very much still at it, still going strong, and in my opinion, the best cue maker in the world. So lucky to have him literally a stone's throw from my house, and currently getting a new
11.
cue made at the minute, so be like a kid at Christmas when that arrives.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 11.
Well, just 11 from that opportunity. Yeah, I met Dave Coots and Robin Cook in Shanghai many years ago. They're lovely people. I know them quite well. I didn't know Dave at the time. I hadn't really met him, but of course he's so well known as a cue maker, as is or was Robin Cook, if he's still going.
Yeah, and just finally on that, he probably doesn't get the respect he deserves in the cue making world, really. He's still quite low key, I suppose. His workshop's still out the back of his house in his garden, and you know, he keeps it very traditional, very professional. He likes to make sure that every part of the cue is done from start to finish by himself, takes great pride in his work, and he really is a tremendous cue maker.
Mark Selby. 1.
You may have noticed that when Ronnie's amongst the balls, he looks very dangerous still, but from long range, he looks particularly fallible. Well, that's pretty obvious, I suppose, when you consider that you have a new tip on your cue to strike the object ball from distance exactly where you want to. It's no easy thing. Oh, superb pot.
1.
Managed to control the cue ball. It's come away from the side cushion, so good chance here for Ronnie, but black is tied up. He'll need to go into the reds because they're all sort of blocking one another, aren't they?
Foul. Ronnie O'Sullivan 1. Mark Selby 4.
Well, in a strange sort of way, it's quite nice to see two of the best players ever struggling, because that gives us hope. It gives us all hope, I suppose. They are human.
It gives you hope, Stephen. I'm retiring in a few months. I don't care how they play now. Well, this, of course, is the other side of snooker, and of course, you know, when two players are struggling a little in one particular frame, as has happened here, the balls find themselves in all sorts of different positions. Ronnie apologising there. He's very fortunate to get away with that.
Yeah, no, possibly a stalemate here. Selby just sort of flicking his hand. He's got no shot with that red being over the right corner. Ronnie, never the sort of player to play for a re-rack, so he'll look for a way out to try and resolve this stalemate, but difficult to find one.
Yeah, if you could play a safety shot into bulk and hide that red near the corner pocket, it could create an opportunity, but it's a bit of a risk to try and do so. Problem is, Stephen, is that too good a shot? Would Mark Selby consider coming off the side cushion here to pot that red? He'd be on the black if he could make it. He's having a look at it.
Yeah, it's just as to whether he can get past the brown enough to catch the edge of that red, and it's not close to the corner pocket either, so it's a pretty accurate contact point he needs to find here on the red ball. Although he did pot one like this earlier on against Kyron Wilson, so he'll have happy memories of that one. Having to play it with side, you can see this is so tough.
See, there you go. That's a shot that Ronnie
6.
would never make a mistake with. He hasn't run through enough there. He's stretching here. If you know
7.
the way the tip is playing, you would never make a mistake like the one that Ronnie's just made. Tried to run through about a foot and ran through 6 inches.
13.
Yeah, and they're just little mistakes, aren't they? Very subtle, but the little mistakes, they do compound.
14.
And it certainly does affect your confidence as a player when you're in amongst them.
Just one more word on Ronnie's tip. Judging from the mistakes that he's making, the tip just needs to firm up a little. If it was a little firmer than it is, I think he'd be able to control shots with side spin so much better, and he wouldn't make the mistakes that he's making.
28.
But in spite of all of that, he has
29.
a chance here to take a 2-1 lead.
.34.
And it feels like a really big frame, this. Okay, it puts either player 1 away from victory, but just the manner in which it would have been won, both players with a number of chances, a lot of mistakes.
42. 43. 50. 51. 58. 59.
'It's important that Ronnie can try and clear the table here, because every shot that he plays will be firming up that tip a little more.
67.
And now the chance of a century break from nowhere. Don't think at the start of this frame, the way it went, you would ever have predicted that there'd be a ton in this frame, but
74.
Ronnie with the 6 remaining colours, able to do that.
76. 79. 83. 88.
Struck through the cue ball beautifully there.
94.
Wasn't happy with that one though, but he's still on the black okay. Chance for career century 1,281. And in goes the black, so he's done precisely that. Beautiful clearance from Ronnie O'Sullivan of 101 to go with his break of 79 in frame 1, and he retakes the lead by 2-1. Ronnie O'Sullivan has just left the auditorium briefly. He's taken a 2-1 lead in a vital match for him. He's just re-entered the arena.
The fourth frame.
But it's Mark Selby who will be breaking off for frame number 4, 2-1 behind. So work to do to keep his perfect record intact.
No attempt at the long red from Ronnie, just trying to dump the cue ball, but he sent the red up and down the table, and it's in a potable position for Mark Selby. The cue ball not tight enough to this top cushion to avoid tempting Mark into taking this on. Yeah, and he's potted it nicely, and he's had a favourable cannon to the brown. He's landed absolutely plumb to go into them. There is a slight gap between the pink and the pack, so he'll want to hit this pink as full as possible. Well, he didn't quite catch it as full as he would have liked, but he got movement on the reds. Now is he on one?
6.
Well, there's your answer. He isn't. That's where hitting the pink full on makes such a difference. You just get that little bit more movement to the pack.
Mark Selby. 6.
Chance for Mark to get Ronnie in trouble here. He just pointed with his cue where he'd like the cue ball to end up, somewhere over the left side of the table. There's a lot of traffic down that left side, so he wants to try and force Ronnie into something down the left side. He's made a pretty decent job of that.
Just wonder if Ronnie may be forced to attempt a straightish red here, and if he can knock it in, he could hold for the black, but what's he spotted here? He's taking something on, I feel. Good effort. Found a gap, though, for the cue ball. Could have finished a lot worse.
Well, that one was a complete miss hit from Ronnie. He's not left an absolute sitter for Mark Selby, but he has left reds available.
Just looking at the black, it may well pot into the right corner. And if respotted, it would probably be available into the left corner, so would still be available. I say this because the pink's out of commission really along that top cushion, and although the blue's on the spot, the reds are significantly down this black spot end, so you wouldn't want to keep going up and down all the time for the blue.
Yeah, nicely played. Delicate little shot that from Mark, and held up for the black, which, as you said, Dom, will pass to this right corner pocket. And I'm pretty convinced it will then pot to the left corner, so this is working its way to be a pretty decent chance. Mark instantly taking the opportunity to remove that red right of the black spot
17.
to really open things up. Mark looking to take us the distance in this match.
Two. 23.
Well, he's got a nice angle on this black to go into that little cluster of 5 above it. He'd like to play it in such a way that he could guarantee he leaves himself on another red, so may not choose to play that shot here. Yeah, just left a little bit to chance.
30.
Happy to just chip away at the loose reds that are available.
31.
Yeah, it's a pity for Mark Selby, really. The two reds to the left of the black, they're not a plant, but they're covering one another. And if he were to go into the 5 reds delicately, he may not land on anything. You'd have to play
36.
that particular developing shot with a little bit of pace, because it's just the way they're configured. It doesn't look too advantageous to me. He's left an angle on the black to take the cue ball into them. What he doesn't want to do here is to catch one of the reds full ball. If he can find a junction with 2 of the reds. Now, you may decide instead, in fact, it looks as though he's playing the cannon, the other red. And that's what he's played. He's played that really nicely. That's a much better shot to play, because now, if he wishes,
44.
He could leave an angle on the black to go into those 5 reds, as Stephen suggested, and he's guaranteed to be on this loose red.
45.
Yeah, it was clever play from Mark. He had to play that little cannon there. Just makes this shot a lot easier to play. The percentages are now in Mark's favour to land. Whereas before he was kind of hedging his bets on going into the pack and hoping to land. That way he could play it as a free shot knowing he was going to land. Never misses a trick, Mark Selby. He's the ultimate percentage player.
53. $55. 56.
He's worked these really well. It wasn't a straightforward visit when he came to the table, but already numerically over the line in this frame, looking to possibly respond to Ronnie's century with a ton of his own.
$63. 64.
The two reds together could be a problem for Mark Selby, but I'm sure he'll have the opportunity to develop them.
69. $70.
Just didn't catch enough of the first red.
77.
So, had to be a double, the length of the table perhaps into the yellow pocket. Oh, dear, dear. What a shot that is from Mark Selby. That's terrific. Even he's got a smile on his face with that one.
$85.
Well, someone needs to let Mark know this isn't an exhibition.
86.
Just goes to show what sort of shots these guys have in their armoury. Amazing shot from Mark.
$93. $95. $98.
Brown then for career century number 855. Still over 400 behind Ronnie O'Sullivan.
102.
I'd love to think that Mark Selby will eclipse the 1,000 centuries mark in his career. I'm sure he will. Only 41 years old, got a good few years
107.
left in him yet.
$113.
And in goes the black. Well, what a standard we're witnessing here in this match. Breaks of 79 and 101 from O'Sullivan. Breaks of 84 and that excellent clearance of 120 from Mark Selby. So we're heading the distance. It's 2 frames all. Welcome back. It's a deciding frame between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Selby, two legends
Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
of this game of snooker. 11 world titles between them. That's incredible. Ronnie O'Sullivan breaking off left-handedly, as he always does these days.
Doesn't feel like a match that's had 2 centuries and 2 other one-visit breaks, but that's been the case. There's been some really, really good stuff and some really, really bad stuff. Complete mixture, but ultimately it's come down to a one-frame shootout. And that's a great long red once again from Mark Selby. Not just the pot, but to navigate the cue ball round the back of that red beneath the black. Superb.
Choosing to play the yellow here because he has more control of the cue ball from the yellow, even though it's travelling further. Needs to keep going. That's okay. I think the red just below the pink is available, which is the one that he played for. Is he straight enough on it, I wonder, to run through for the black? Maybe not quite, but he can play for the pink into the centre pocket here if he wishes. In fact, he found a gap for the cue ball, so he is on the black.
So he'd probably like to pot this red, then the black, and then the red directly above the black. That would just give him a few more options in terms of going into the reds. Yeah, he can remove that red here. Or he does have
19.
The one just right of it. But I think he'd prefer to take the one above the black.
I find it amazing, you know, how much ball reaction that Mark Selby gets when he's close in like that. I mean, the shot that he's just played there, a lot of players will struggle with because the tip size of Mark Selby's cue is
20.
Barely 9mm, maybe 9.2mm, where the average, I suppose, on the tour is probably 9.5, 9.6 mils, so it's nearly half a mil smaller in tip size. See it there. So when he plays a shot with backspin, he gets a lot more action out of the cue ball than most.
27. $28. $35.
In any deciding frame, you just want some opportunities, and if you make a mess of it, you can't really blame anybody but yourself. You've had that opportunity, but Ronnie O'Sullivan may not get
36.
one.
Yeah, it was a brilliant opening red from Mark, worthy of winning any frame, but you still got to stand up and take them. Let's not forget Mark Selby is 2 from 2 in this group, so looking to turn this match around and be 3 from 3.
42.
It would put him in such a strong position with still one more game to play today. His last match will be against Ali Carter over on table 2 later on this evening. Of course, that's a big game in itself because Mark will play Ali Carter at the Masters next week, so that could be a very intriguing affair. Chance to plant a seed of doubt in their opponent ahead of that meeting at Alexandra Palace.
43.
Yeah, so what a match to kick off the Masters. Defending champion Ronnie O'Sullivan will be taking on John Higgins, no less.
Yeah, it just doesn't get any bigger than that, does it? What an occasion that will be. The Masters has become one of the most attractive tournaments
49.
on the calendar, no doubt about it. Now they've done that event up now, looks brilliant. Of course, the prize money's been significantly increased this season as well. To play that with a lot of pace, Mark Selby, to try and widen the cue ball to get out for those two reds.
57.
And well, he may still clip one of these in, but it's very, very thin. He needs them both. Well, it was too thin to the right corner. Decided to take it to the middle, and what a shot that is. Look at the control as well. Excellent shot from Mark. And now this routine red. And 65. A colour to follow for the match.
$66.
Well, I guess Mark Selby needs to make sure he doesn't take his eye off the pot in playing the cannon into the reds. Hasn't done, so although he hasn't finished nicely here, Ronnie O'Sullivan already needs a couple of snookers. Is it in? Is it in? It's in. He's got some sort of position on the black. I probably fancy mark for this into the green pocket.
Yeah, and the red goes to middle as well, just beneath the pink spot. So it's a chance for yet another century if this black goes in.
$81. 82.
Played with top spin and check side on the
89.
cue ball to cannon the pink. Chance of 140 here. That'll take some beating. No, Jack Jones won't think so. He
90.
made a 147 in the previous group.
If you'd have shown me a few of the shots played in the third frame of this match, there is no way that I would have believed you that there could potentially be 3 century breaks. 79 and an 84, no chance. But that is
98.
what's going to happen if Mark Selby can pop this black. Pure brilliance from the Jester. It's a funny old game, isn't it, Dom?
Yeah, it's just that when mistakes were made, players are right in and had a chance to make those big breaks. Well, he didn't get the double, but has he got the treble? Of course he has.
106.
Still a chance then of 140 total clearance.
Do you know what? I'm going to stick my neck out and say that he played the treble there, because someone like Mark Selby cannot get that far away from the double.
Well, of course, we're normally playing on star tables, and the way these cushions play on the Rassons, they do play slightly differently. A lot of players actually have been struggling with doubles, but of course, Mark Selby in the previous frame played a superb double into the yellow pocket. Full length of the table. Ronnie O'Sullivan just waiting for this break to end so that he can shake the hand
18.
and congratulate Mark Selby.
$122. $127. $133.
Mark Selby making the game look ridiculously easy. And in goes the black for a total clearance of 140. What a performance from him in the end. Ronnie O'Sullivan put him under pressure. His breaks of 79 and 101, but back came Mark Selby. His breaks of 84, 120, and that superb total clearance of 140, the highest break of this group so far. 3 wins out of 3 for Mark Selby, but contrastingly, no wins from 3 matches played for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Work to do for him. But up next here on table 1, we have Kyron Wilson taking on Robert Milkins. Dave Hendon and I will be taking you through that in approximately 5 minutes from now. Please stay with us.